what's up guys? Welcome to the channel. So got a video for you guys today and I want to talk about, can you daily drive a boosted Mustang? So for reference, this is my 2025 Mustang GT and we do have a Whipple on it. Specifically, we're stage 2. We have stainless power long tube headers with cats. No Bluetooth cats here. And then we have a 3.625 pulley. And then we're Rob Shoemaker tuned. Sometimes you run E30, sometimes you run 93. Just kind of depends. In the colder weather, I kind of stick to 93, just because the car seems to make more power with the colder weather. And two, the traction just is not as good. Tires definitely prefer heat. That's when they definitely get their best traction. Okay, so to cut to brass tacks here, yes, you can absolutely daily drive a boosted Mustang. So there are a few caveats to that, and I want to give you guys some perspective too here with my daily driving. So to be totally fair to this, I don't have a stick to work. I don't drive to work. I work from home. Maybe once or twice a month I'll actually do the 30 or 40 minute drive to work. So the days I do that, they're very rare and they're really more so on the fun side, even though I am dealing with traffic. And two, really what I use the car for is, I guess I do daily drive to the gym, but other than that, really running errands and having fun and filming content for you guys. So my daily driving probably isn't the fairest comparison out there. And I just want to put that in front of the camera just to give you guys some insight with my kind of driving with this car. So first of all, with a Mustang GT, even if you guys go with the 300A package, they're a perfectly comfortable car. I mean, you have your Apple CarPlay. I don't think the 300As come with heated or cooled seats. You don't really need that. But you have a great stereo, they're reliable. You're never really gonna have an issue daily driving a Mustang. That's pretty clear. But as you guys are probably here for, it's specifically daily driving a boosted Mustang. So let's talk about that a little bit. So for me, what really makes a car dailyable is reliability and just ease of not having to worry about things going wrong with the car. Now I know it's a pretty typical answer. You're gonna hear that everywhere else when you're looking for, can I daily drive this car or not? But I've had issues with cars in the past where they do work pretty well, but there's always weird quirks and tweaks that you have to do with them. If you guys are running a Whipple supercharger setup, their ease of maintenance is actually extremely easy. And there really isn't anything you have to do special with the car in terms of added maintenance. You obviously want to do your oil changes. I do them every 5,000 miles. And you're gonna wanna do 5W50 if you guys are on a Whipple setup. Originally Ford calls for 5W30, but oil changes are typical. We're doing those anyways. You should be doing those anyways, hopefully, every 5,000 miles. But there's really no specific maintenance that you have to do with the Whipple supercharger. Now the Whipple system is a sealed environment. So there's actually oil that runs through the bearings for the rotors, but the rotor pack oil, that only actually has to be changed every 100,000 miles. So you have a very, very long life on the specific system oil that's in the Whipple supercharger itself. So again, every 100,000 miles, you're gonna wanna change that out. But that amount of maintenance is so light in terms of how often you have to do it, it's really not a big deal. 100,000 miles is a really, really long time to worry about a specific maintenance item. So in terms of things that you have to do with the car, it's really nothing. There's really genuinely no difference besides that 100,000 mile rotor pack oil change in the supercharger. There's just no significant difference between a non-boosted Mustang GT and a boosted Mustang GT. So in terms of that, easy day. There's nothing you really have to do there. Now, if you guys are running a twin turbo setup, there is some oil consumption with the turbos. I'm not super familiar with that, but I know there is a little bit more that's put into it. We definitely want to have a twin turbo setup one day on the channel. So once we get there, I'll definitely be showing you guys the ropes with that. But for now, we're just on a Whipple Mustang GT and the maintenance is super easy, super straightforward. Nothing that breaks it out of the realm of not being able to be daily driven. Also too, one thing I want to tell you guys, I live in Dallas. The weather here is pretty easy on cars all year round. Now, obviously we do get rain a decent bit, but if you have a decent, I mean, you don't even need like a dedicated all season tire. A summer tire will do okay, kind of depending on which one you go with. The stock Pirelli P0s, these don't do very well in the rain. These are pretty subpar in my opinion. I don't know why Ford keeps putting an inadequate tire on their Ford Mustangs. I've had probably P0s before in the past on my Gen 1 Coyote, and they're just a pretty substandard tire. But if you guys go with a Continental Extreme or even like a Firehawk Indy 500 tire, those are more dedicated summer tires, and they're gonna do just fine. I've had them before. They're gonna do just fine in the rain. They're really not a huge problem there. I've also had Toyo Proxys, which are one of my favorite tires. Now, I had the dedicated all-season ones, and they did extremely well on an NA setup. So if your Coyote is NA, I think a Toyota Proxy all-season is really one of the best tires you can get. I love them because they lasted a very long time. I would, on average, get between 40 to 45,000 miles out of those tires. They worked very well in the rain, and they also hooked up extremely well, even hard pulls in first gear. Maybe a little bit of tire chirping, but after that, they gripped really, really well, especially in the hotter days. So in terms of the weather that I deal with here, if you guys are in one of those states where you don't really get snow, you're not really gonna have much of an issue anyways. It's like daily driving, you know, any other rear-wheel drive car. You're gonna pay more attention, one, in the tires that you buy, and also two, kind of your driving habits, you know, kind of like, you're gonna exercise more control in rainy conditions for sure. Now, we do get snow here very rarely, and it's usually like a few days in January or February. You just don't drive. Nobody drives in Texas when it snows. I come from Minnesota, so we would do 3 or 4 months of snow driving. And believe it or not, I used to daily drive my 1994 Z28 Camaro. All through the winter, I just throw Blizzak snow tires on it. It was still absolute crap, didn't grip, very scary. That Camaro was a torture device in the snow. But, you know, we did it. We were balling on a budget back then. But here in Texas, you're gonna do just fine. For the days that it snows, nobody drives, and it's not really a big deal. If you guys are in a snowy area, this is where I think my answer is gonna change a bit differently. And when I mean snowy area, I just mean if you guys are dealing with at least 1 or 2 months of just full-time snow throughout the season, maybe in this case, you probably wanna look at maybe a dedicated winter car or something like that. Now, before I made this video, I was looking at forums, some of the Facebook pages for these S650 Mustangs, just to see who is out there driving these cars in the snow. And there are people that do that. They'll throw a set of winter tires on these cars, even on their boosted setups, and they will drive them through the winter. I think that's a little crazy, but I think kind of good crazy. Like, more power to you. Definitely some serious respect to those people who are taking their 700 horsepower Mustangs and driving them through the actual snowy winters of whatever state they live in. But generally, most people are probably gonna look at doing a winter car and putting their Mustang away for those snowy months. Again, if you're in one of the states that I am, like Texas or Florida, or I guess, I don't know, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, something like that, you guys probably don't have to worry about snow all that much, and you're gonna do just fine. Even in the rain, you'll be okay. Just make sure you're not driving on a drag pack or something like that, and you'll be just fine. So another thing I wanna talk about is the characteristics of the car and how that changes when you go from a naturally aspirated Mustang to a supercharged Mustang. I remember when I was first researching getting the Whipple on the car, what I was looking at is, if you're driving the car typically, where you're relatively gentle, you're relatively graceful, you're not mashing the throttle every single time, the car actually, what was reported was the car actually behaves almost identically to stock. Some say identically. I disagree a little bit with that, but that is true though. In terms of, it does actually behave very similar to stock form. So if you're gentle with it, you're not mashing the throttle, which is hard to do, okay? But if you can manage it, I usually can't, but if you can manage it, the car does actually behave very docile. To be honest, if you don't allow the car to go over 2,000 RPMs and you take a Whipple Mustang and a non-Whipple Mustang, I think you guys would probably, at least I know I would, probably have a difficult time just, you know, seeing which one is supercharged and which one's not. The supercharger doesn't really make any noise. Unfortunately with the Whipples, again, this is a preference thing to be honest, but with the Whipples, they don't really make any sort of whine. There's mods you can do, but really the car does behave and sound very, very similar to stock as long as you're docile with it. Now, there is a little bit of wisp and whistle when the throttle body opens every time you get on the gas, or if you downshift in the rev matches, for my manual guys out there. There is like a really cool whistle, so I would be able to detect that pretty quickly on a supercharged setup. But other than that, they sound and they behave very, very similarly compared to an NA Coyote and a boosted Coyote. That's another reason to me that really kind of shows that you can daily drive these cars as long as you're gentle with it and the conditions that call for it. So another big thing that people talk about and is totally valid is gas mileage. I don't want to call anybody out, but I have seen Whipple Mustang videos out there on YouTube where people are kind of pushing how good of a gas mileage they get on their Mustangs that have the Stage 2 Whipple kits or the Stage 1 Whipple kits, but they're saying that they're getting, you know, about 23, 24 miles per gallon. I think some even say 25. To be fair to them, that is possible, but I would bet a lot of money that that is not the average gas mileage that they can get. When you have one of these cars, it's really, really difficult not to have at least some spirited fun with it every single time you drive it. And to be honest, if you guys are looking at daily driving a Whipple Mustang, you're gonna drive your Whipple Mustang in a way that you kind of built it for. So when you have 700 horsepower, you're gonna try to use the majority of that, or at least the plurality of that when you're behind the wheel. So I did do some testing. If you're on the highway and you're being hyper excessively gentle with the throttle, you can get 25, 26 miles per gallon. At least I was able to do that in mine. Now, given mine is a 6-speed manual, my understanding is with these cars, the MT82s do a little bit better on the highway for gas mileage than the 10R80s do. But like I was saying, if you are very gentle with it, you can get a pretty consistent 25 miles per gallon on the highway. Are you gonna get 25 miles per gallon on the highway generally? I would say absolutely not. The car is just too much fun not to have a little bit of pulling power here and there. And as soon as you do that, your gas mileage sinks. Because also guys, keep in mind, when you supercharge your car and you're adding boost to it, you're adding more air. Your typical fuel air ratio is around the 14.0 mark. So if you have a lot more air, your fuel system is going to be injecting a lot more fuel. You're upgraded, the Stage 2 comes with upgraded fuel injectors. They're 55-pound fuel injectors. I don't know if the Stage 1 does, I would assume it probably does, but at least for me, with the Stage 2, I can speak to that one. They come with upgraded fuel injectors, and they use all of those fuel injectors. I'm on a 3.625 pulley. You can go down to a 3.5 with some extreme anxiety, I would say, because you really are on the bleeding edge of what your fuel system can provide. But you are absolutely using more fuel when you're in the power band or you're making boost with your car. Because all boost is really is just an air charge that's being forced through the intake pipes that go into the cylinder heads to feed air into the cylinders. So if you have more air, you're gonna have more fuel. So don't think you're gonna get the exact same gas mileage as you would if you're naturally aspirated on your car, because when you're up top in the RPMs, you're throwing a lot more fuel into the engine than you would on an NA Gen 4 Coyote setup. So I think that absolutely is something to keep in mind. If you guys really want to know the gas mileage that I get in this car, I'm not going to tell you because it's really embarrassing. No, I'm just kidding, I'll tell you. I average around 11.2 miles per gallon. But keep in mind, my daily driving isn't really much on the highway. And when it is, it's a lot of filming and really kind of more so enjoyment of the car. So we're driving it how it's supposed to be driven. And everything else is kind of a lot of city driving, unfortunately, just being kind of in the downtown Dallas area. So obviously, if you guys are in the realm of an S650 Mustang with a Stage 2 Whipple kit, high consumption of fuel is gonna come along with that. Now, I know this is really expected with these cars, but you just simply are gonna consume a lot of fuel. That's just gonna be how it is. I would imagine most people probably get a little bit better gas mileage than I do. I was kind of looking, people are getting around 14, 15 miles per gallon on the car, as opposed to my 11.2 or whatever it is. But that is absolutely something that is going to meaningfully change as soon as you boost your Mustang. Is your fuel consumption is absolutely going to go up. But that's a good thing. More fuel, more bang, more boom, more go. So it's part of the equation, and that's what makes your car faster, kind of. But just something to keep in mind for you guys. And then last thing I want to tell you guys, I think I should do it. I know I'm not being the best influence here, but I definitely think you guys should boost your Mustang. I've talked about this before. I probably have around 250,000 miles behind a Coyote, most of it being a Gen 1 and a Gen 2, a little bit behind a Gen 4, but this car only has like 8,000 miles on it, so certainly not a lot behind specifically a Gen 4, but the other ones I do. A boosted Coyote really is like the best thing ever. They really do so well up top in the high RPMs. Coyote engines just have the magic that I think is lacking with LT and LS engines. They rev a lot more freely, and because of the 4 cams and because of the 4 valves per cylinder and the twin independent variable cam timing, there's just a much better, almost 100% volumetric efficiency that the Coyotes get. Where with the LT, when you supercharge those cars, they're not getting the efficiency of every pound of boost that's extracted from whatever power adder that's on the system. So with these Mustangs, generally around the 20 to 22 mark, maybe 25 horsepower per pound of boost is about what it equates to. With LS and LT engines, they don't do that well. I think they're probably a little bit closer to the 15 horsepower mark per pound of boost that's ingested into the engine. But because of that, Coyotes just do so well with boost. They really do have the boost game locked down compared to the LS and LTs. If you're doing a max effort, all engine build, LS and LT may be better just because there is the crutch of the smaller 5-liter displacement that Coyotes have compared to the 6.2s I usually find in the LS and LT engines. But for those of you guys who are on the fence, should I boost the car, should I not? I know it's really easy for me to sit here and say, yeah, go spend $10,000, $12,000 of your own money. I think you guys should do it. I know it's easy for me to say that, but I've done it, I love it, and it really does make the car so much more fun. Just knowing, also too, just kind of knowing you really are in the top 1, maybe 2% fastest cars that are driving on the street currently. So yes, supercharge your guys' Mustang. I know you want to, just do it, okay? For those of you guys who are on the fence out there, I think you guys should just do it. And daily driving the car is genuinely a lot more reasonable than you may think. It's, like I said, these cars, they'll behave perfectly well as long as you treat them. Like I said, these cars will behave very well as long as you treat them gently in less than ideal condition, whether that's in the rain or in the wet or whatever it is. They will do just fine, and they'll perform and behave very similarly to an NA setup. So hopefully that helps you guys out there who may be on the fence about supercharging your S650 Gen 4 Coyote. It's very, very daily drivable, like for sure, 100%. There's not a whole lot of added maintenance. There's a little bit of extra expense after, of course, the cost of the supercharger and the installation. And that really is just a pricier oil, but you're still using the same. And then of course the 100,000 mile supercharger system oil that you'll have to change here and there. So hopefully this helps you guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in for this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.